Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to create a card with the Spellbinders Small Die of the Month Club Kit for August 2021. Now this month's club kit is a kaleidoscope die set, and if you are familiar with the Spellbinders Kaleidoscope dies, you know how pretty they are. What it is 3 different patterns that you layer together to create a beautiful kaleidoscope effect. Just stunning. So today we're going to make a pretty simple card using this die set. It's called the Hex Kaleidoscope Tile Die set. Now the neat thing about this set is it does have an outline piece that's layerable, and which is really nice. On each end of these little hexagons there's circles, and then you get some extra ones in the die set that you can layer or add dimension to your project with, but you can create a real pretty pattern with this. Actually, I'm going to take this and die cut this out with some cardstock. I happen to have the purple mist on my desk because that's what we're going to use for the background of our tiles. So let's die cut this out, and I'm going to show you how pretty the frame is. This is what your frame looks like. Those little rectangles in the middle do pop out, and then you have the back pieces that are slightly larger than your tile, which makes it really nice. You can see the circles on the left and right. I die cut one out with black cardstock too. You can layer them together to create a beautiful background. This would be great for scrapbooking too. You can create an entire background for a 12 by 12 page. Those rectangles, like I said, just pop out, and you can layer them together to create a fun effect for any card project and any size basically too. Now I want to tell you too that this little diamond can finish off your pattern beautifully because it fits in between the hexagons, so that makes it really nice. Now I'm going to take all 3 of my tiles. The nice thing about these is it's almost the same pattern, but just different thicknesses. So your top layer will be the thinnest, the back layer will be your thickest layer. You can see the difference here. So you want to arrange them from thickest to thinnest. Okay, next we're going to bring in some colored cardstock and do some die cutting. I have 3 different summery shades: green, blue, and yellow. Yellow's Beeswax, green is Waterfall, and no, blue is Waterfall, I'm sorry, and then the green is Peridot. We ran those through the die cutting machine, and I did use my tool-in-one, the brush end, to get all those little pieces out. Now I cut 3 out, but technically for today's project you only really need 2. Now if you have white liner sheets or adhesive backing sheets, you could use those to create stickers out of these. It makes it very, very easy. I just decided to bring in my Creative Sticker Maker and create some stickers out of here. I haven't used it in a while. The last time I used it, it had a lot of sticky residual after I ran it through. And I've had a few comments where people have said to run your bone folder over it to remove it. But you guys, this machine actually technically doesn't have a clear sheet. I think I lost one. I didn't push it in all the way, so it didn't connect to my roller, but we found it. Okay, but this, when you run it through, it doesn't have a clear sheet. The clear sheet stays on a roll on the inside of the machine. So it has your stickers and then your wax sheet underneath. So I think, you know what, I'm going to try using a gummy eraser. I have one that I use for my tape runner, and it works better than trying to remove it with your fingers. But I'm taking my first layer, the beeswax, and I'm going to go ahead and add that to my purple mist background panel. And you can see it does leave a little bit of a border, and I like that. Next we'll take our second layer, which is our waterfall. I'll go over this and my last layer here with my eraser to get rid of that gumminess. And you know what, guys, there's enough room on here just to use your glue, so no worries on how to adhere them all together. This is our third layer. This is our last layer. This is Peridot. We're putting it on top, and the detail in here is so pretty. I don't want to bring it too close to the camera because my camera gets blurry sometimes, but the layers in here are just stunning, guys. this you can do for every occasion. You could do it for Christmas, you can do it for Valentine's Day, put little hearts in the center. I think would be really fun. Now I'm going to go ahead and continue all 3 of my tiles, and we are good to go. Again, I'm not going to use my outline piece for my project today. I'm going to keep it clean and simple. This is probably the cleanest and simplest card that I've made, but I think it's very, very pretty. Now I have a panel that measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. Leaves me a little bit of a border on my card base. I'm going to layer basically 3 of these almost a little above midpoint on this panel. I do want some more dimension. When you layer them all together, you actually have dimension. But I want to add a little more. You don't have to. You could actually adhere these directly to your panel. But I popped mine up with some foam squares, and we are going to center our first one in the middle of this panel. And I don't trust my eyes, so it's time to break out the T-square ruler. We haven't used this in a long time. But any kind of ruler you have, or even a piece of paper that you could put on your grid mat to help keep this straight. The nice thing is centering it is very easy. Just line up your middle dot on your tile with your ruler, and it works out perfectly. I'm going to go ahead and add my right side here, but you could see by the time I added my right, you could have trimmed that off and then put it to your left. You didn't need that extra tile, but I went ahead and I wasn't sure about the width of it, so I went ahead and die cut out 3 to create 3 tiles. But I'm keeping them here because I'm not going to trim them on this panel. I'm going to trim them off of my card base, just so they are the full width of my card base. Now I do want to add a little something, so I'm bringing in my scoreboard, and I'm placing my decorated panel in it, and just below my tile line I'm going to score, and then I'm going to move it up 1/4 inch, basically skip one line on my scoreboard and then score again. For the top I didn't skip a line, so I just scored, and then on the next line on my scoreboard I scored again. So the top lines are more together than the bottom. Of course, if you wanted to use an embossing folder and emboss your background panel, you very well could, but I just wanted to do something clean, so I left it white and just added those 2 lines. I'm going to go ahead and take my panel, adhere this to my card base, just place it in the center here, and then I'm going to open it up and then just trim off the excess. You want to use some strong scissors for this because you're cutting through 4 layers of very thick cardstock. These scissors are actually amazing, so I just trimmed it. Now you could actually cut another piece out, cut it in half like I did here, and then add them to your card base if you wanted to. You can create a full entire card base. You could add them to the bottom if you wanted to. I was just playing around with the placement. I went through the trouble of creating my tiles. I just didn't want them to go to waste. I think they're too thick to put on the inside, but you could actually create a real pretty pattern with these on top too if you wanted to. But we'll just set these aside and maybe use them for another card. So set those aside. So just need 2 for today's project. You can see if you put these together it'll equal 1. So okay, now we need a sentiment, of course. So I'm bringing in a Christmas sentiment stamp. Now I chose this because it's just been on my desk, and believe it or not, there are some sentiments in here that you can get away with everyday cards. I chose the one in this set that says sending wishes across the miles. I wanted a long one to go over my my kaleidoscope tiles, but I didn't want them thick because I wanted you to be able to still see the tile behind the sentiment. I stamped my sentiment with VersaFine Onyx Black ink on some white cardstock. This stamp set actually has a die that coordinates that you can cut out your strips with, and it cuts out a pretty thin strip, and that's what I was going for. You can see here. I'm going to even it up on the right side. We'll just trim off that excess, And then I have enough dimension on my card. I'm just going to use a tape runner, go behind my sentiment, and put it straight across all 3 tiles right in the center, kind of joining them all together. And keeping it really clean, but I really think it's so pretty. Now, of course, we need bells and whistles, so this is kind of going to take away from the clean look and give it a little flashy look. So I'm bringing in my favorite gems. These are the Spellbinders Color Essential Gems. This one has been so popular, it's often sold out at the Spellbinder shop, but it's so pretty. It's called the Crystal Mix. And I'm using the smallest gems on the bottom half. There's 2 different colors. You have like a frosty white on top, and then you have like a holographic-y type on the bottom. The smallest ones will fit in the little dots of your very last pattern, on your very last tile piece. So that's what I did. I just filled them in with all these small tiny gems. And I love the way this looks. You'll see in the close-ups how pretty it is. It just looks really classy, guys. But that is my project today, guys, using the Spellbinders Small Die of the Month Club Kit for August 2021. Again, this club kit is called Hex Kaleidoscope Tile. If you're interested, links are over on my blog or down below. But I hope you enjoyed my projects. Have a fabulous day. Thanks so much for stopping by. We'll see you soon.